First item on the agenda, we have Suffern Sales. Anybody here from Suffern Sales? Okay. All right, so please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jacob Spry. The address of Suffern Sales is 23 Wayne Avenue, Suffern, New York.
Okay, please tell us.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Try to talk into the mic.
My name is Jacob Spry.
Okay.
How do you spell your last name?
S-P-R-E-I.
Thank you.
So please tell us about your application.
So we submitted an application to install a new window in the front of the building by the office part. Just it should be a big glass window to make the building look nicer. So I'd like to have the office look a little bit better. There'll be a big, now there's only one small window on the front, a small window on the side, and we're trying to make a half a window on the side and a full window on the front.
Okay. We've also got a memo from the building department that there's a notice of violation on the property. What's going on with that?
I don't know. I know there was a notice of violation on 20 Wayne, but I think that was solved by the boss.
Excuse me, it was what?
There was on 20 Wayne a violation, and I think my boss, as I recall, took care of it. He told me that he spoke to the inspector.
It's not solved as of today.
What's that violation regarding?
The violation is still on. I spoke to the building inspector today. And this isn't your first violation.
This isn't.
He was in violation right after he got his approval for his site plan. He put a trailer on there trying to sell cars. It took him a while to get rid of that. And these cars have been in there for months, which he knows they're not allowed. There's no doubt that they're not allowed as it stands. So I personally, I'm going to make a motion not to approve anything until that violation is cleared.
Okay, well, the last time I spoke to him, he told me that he spoke to, I don't know who the person who came down there.
Steve Conley.
If you want, here's a copy of the violation, if you want to take it back. Does anybody else have any comments?
Well, I'd like to make a motion.
Well, wait.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, make the motion, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion not to approve any changes to this site plan until the violations are cleared and either he has the right or doesn't have the right to have a parking lot with about 40 or 50 cars in it. That was basically just for vehicles that the shop was working on either for body work or mechanical work. So that's my motion. Do not approve this until the violations are cleared.
So I think what I'll recommend is, you really can't hold up approvals for a violation that, they could clear or could not clear. My recommendation would be to adjourn it for 1 month and have the applicant contact the building inspector and see what the issue is. You can either appeal that or make application to the village board for certain relief. Whatever you need to do to get it out of violation, you can do, but my recommendation, rather than having a motion like that, would be just to, if you want to request an adjournment for 1 month, just to do that, to clear it up, and then, you can come back in a month. If it's clear, we'll deal with it. If it's not, but you can still get approval, we'll deal with that also, but just see some progress that something's being done one way or the other. That would be my recommendation.
Well, this violation has existed since May 14th, and nothing has changed.
All right, so do you want to ask for an adjournment?
Yes, I will.
No, you can do this.
All right, so we're going to adjourn this until the July meeting, which looks like it'll probably be on July 20th.
We'll be on July 20th?
Most likely.
Okay.
It will be, right? Is
everybody good for July 20th?
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, so we're looking at July 20th, 17th.
See you then.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Edward's Funeral Chapel.
just go online. Do we have to override anything
Hello, everybody. I would say that
on the GML?
I would say we can override it.
1 second.
Adopt. But yeah, why don't you have him start?
Hi, I'm Joseph Casario, Edwards Funeral Chapel, 160 Orange Avenue, right here in Suffern.
Great. Here, there's any ones.
Okay, just you want to ask just a reminder what the...
Okay, did you just want to remind everybody, what your application is about, the facade change, et cetera?
Sure, so we're here because we discovered we were on a state road, and because of the fact that it was a state road, I guess the state, I'm not sure exactly the inner works of everything, but someone had to approve the facade, I guess, to make sure it wasn't a nuisance, or we weren't putting some pink elephant or on the building, et cetera, that would cause people to dislike the property. But the fact that we're keeping the facade the same, going with sort of more your taupes and grays, et cetera, I don't see how that would pose any type of an eyesore, so to speak. If anything, would beautify the neighborhood, I believe, in my opinion. Brand new building.
It didn't change from last month to this month, no pink elephant going on?
Well, we couldn't, no. We haven't done anything, no, nothing pink, no.
Just asking, just asking.
A couple of windows only, but that's it.
Well, you made some changes in response to the county GML, correct?
The architect dealt with all that, and I signed all the documents he recommended to sign. I know you have a copy of everything, copy of the plans, and anything that had to be done, as far as I know, was done already, and I signed off on it. You should have a copy of everything that was done by way of email. Up until today, I was still getting emails. I was in a group email with the town and whomever.
Yeah, there was also a mistake in the zoning for it, and Steve cleared that up.
I think everything's been cleared up, is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding, Joanne, that was all...
It's all taken care of? Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the application?
Well, what I'm going to suggest is, as part of the motion, would include that this would be given the nature of it, one, you're going to waive the necessity for a public hearing on the site plan, right? This was not a notice for a public hearing, Joanne?
No.
So as part of the approval, would be waiving the necessity for a public hearing, a formal site plan, and it would be a type 2 action under secret.
Okay, so do I have a motion to waive that, and it is a type 2 action under secret?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion, Jim Giannettino, do I have a second?
Second.
A second, Andrew Dale, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Means we can...
What was the holdup to continue working?
So we're at the point of we're ready to put insulation and sheetrock. We didn't want to do that because in case we got disapproved today, we didn't want to button up the walls with the outside walls exposed in case moisture got in, and that's a good recipe for mold.
Yeah, because I thought the building inspector had given you the go-ahead.
He did, but if we would have not had the go-ahead tonight and I couldn't put the siding on the building, I was afraid to put the siding...
All right, I was just
afraid
curious.
to put the sheetrock on the inside of the building.
It's been a month and nothing happened.
That's the reason why.
Yeah.
That was the reason why. But now we're ready to forge ahead.
Before you go, just, I'm going to recommend that the county planning sent a letter dated June 17th pointing out the issues that you discussed that your architect corrected regarding the bulk table and the zoning. And it also says that it needs to be renoticed. To the extent that that would require an override, I would ask for a motion to override that. The reason being, one, they have corrected it, so technically it doesn't need the override, but it's been corrected, but also that the board did waive the necessity for a formal,
Thank you.
for a public hearing, so
Thank
take a
you.
motion to
We
that.
have a motion to override the County Department of Planning on Section 2.
I guess I'll make it. Nobody's stepping up.
Jim Giannettino, do I have a second? Do
Thank you.
I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Second, Andrew Dale, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
you.
Thank you very much, all.
Okay, all right, next on the agenda is IV2 Rockland Logistics LLC. And if you wouldn't mind getting up and just sort of refresh everyone's memory on where we are with that, and then we'll have Bonnie go after, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Darius Shafizadeh with the law firm of Harris Beach for the applicant, IV2 Rockland Logistics LLC. As you recall, we filed our application for site plan approval back in February of 2022. I was actually speaking to Mr. Magrino earlier. There was a typo on the letter of 2021 on that, and we apologize. The EAF was submitted at that time also for February of 2022. I don't think there was any other typo in there but that one, but go figure. But since that time, we've submitted the EAF and gone back and forth and been working with Nelson Pope, going over the EAF and some other issues. We've also met with the Village of Montebello to discuss some of the issues with the project. Since that time, we've had a lengthy meeting with Bonnie one day. She was excellent year planner from Nelson Pope. We had a very productive discussion. It was decided that we would move forward in the seeker process with the issuance of a positive declaration if your board is so inclined tonight, followed by a preparation of a scoping document. We've gone back and forth with Bonnie over the last week or so with a draft scoping document that we are hoping to get approved tonight to go out to the public for comment, including all interested and involved agencies. We have received a number of comments from Rockland County Highway, Rockland County Planning, and a number of other agencies. Everything is going to be studied as part of the secret process. We have, as you know, we've engaged Dynamic Engineering as our civil engineers on the project. We've also engaged VHB Planning and Consulting as our consultant for the preparation of the EIS and all the secret documents. So, you know, that's sort of the general background. As you know, this is a development of a redevelopment of the existing site, which includes a 550,000 plus square foot building, which is the old Novartis site. It's been empty for at least a decade, I think. And the redevelopment would be removal of that building and the construction of 3 new warehouses totaling approximately 1.2 million square feet. And there's a number of engineering betterments that are happening that I'm not really qualified to talk about, but we can answer any questions you have. But that's sort of the process we've been through. Glad to answer any questions that you have tonight on process or on substance, should you need it.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Romson, do you want to take the podium, please?
So good evening, board members. As the applicant's attorney indicated, we did have the opportunity to meet and go over the site plan and our comments from our Nelson Pope and Voorhees memo, as well as review some of the comments from the other agencies. Ultimately, in the discussions, we determined, based on review of the application and all those comments, that it would be prudent, given the scale of the project, to have the applicant prepare a draft environmental impact statement. So what you have this evening are 4 documents. One is the full environmental assessment form part 2. So you already received the FEAF part 1 from the applicant. The FEAF part 2 looks at the various categories of potential impacts and identifies whether they are minimal, small, or moderate to large. And for instructional purposes, whenever you have something that exceeds a threshold in that FEAF Part 2, you are supposed to check moderate to large. Ultimately, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be as designed, but it's something that has to be evaluated because of what's, again, identified in the FEAF Part 2. The next document is a draft scoping document. So that document essentially serves as the outline for the draft environmental impact statement. That's very important because, especially with more recent seeker amendments, you can't add to it as you go along. The scope is the scope. You're not supposed to be injecting new and additional analyses after the fact. So it's really important to define what the scope of the EIS, the contents, will be. And so the applicant did provide us a first preliminary draft. We took that, and after having looked at the FEAF, updated it to include some additional topics, and that's what you have before you. The next document is the positive declaration notice. So essentially, it's the notice that will get circulated with the scoping document to all the involved and interested agencies. So the involved agencies are those that have some discretionary approval and permitting rights over the application, and interested are those that are interested, but not necessarily having discretionary approval. So we've listed those. The applicant did a great job at listing them in the permits and the scoping document, and it will get circulated to all of them with that notice. And then lastly, your attorney prepared a resolution, which is a resolution you would act on tonight if you're so inclined to issue the positive declaration indicating that a draft environmental impact statement will be prepared, and then to establish a date for a public scoping session. The public scoping session is like a mini hearing for seeker, which allows the community to come out and express any environmental concerns and potential impacts they may have with regard to the project. For informational purposes, after this evening, if you do issue the positive declaration, the scoping document does get posted, the draft of it, to the village's website, as required by seeker, and it's also circulated to the involved and interested agencies. I think we'll need to determine whether you would like the applicant to circulate it on behalf of the village and have an affidavit of mailing, so that they will do all the mailing on your behalf and then indicate and show you evidence that it's been done. So we should discuss that. I think there's a question as to notice how many days before the scoping session. It's really not clear in the seeker regulations. I think normally it's 10 days. If it's a public hearing on a DEIS, it's 14 days. For scoping, I don't know what that time frame is, so I leave it to the attorney. And then lastly, we do need to come up with a date for the scoping session, which I think we've tentatively determined is July 14th? Okay. So...
Does that work for the applicant? July 14th? Does that work for board members?
Yes.
7 p.m.
7 p.m., July 14th?
That's the
Well, there you go. We'll have crepes.
So if you have any questions with regard to the scope or the analyses that are contained in it, we can discuss that. Otherwise, I think this is a matter of moving forward, acting on the resolution, and then, proceeding through the process.
Just while Bonnie's at the podium, and I'll address this to Darius as well, given that the date, the 14th, I think that's plenty of time to give, notice for the hearing. These have all been public hearings. I know it came up, and Montebello mentioned that, it had proceeded along, further than it should have, the consideration before seeker was done, but that's why the date came up with Mr. Shafazada. The village received the application in February of this year, and we started the seeker process in March. So this is, again, all part of that, and the public hearings on it. So we'll continue that. And again, my recommendation, we go to the 14th, and, see what develops at that session. Thereafter, it would be appropriate for them to come back. I leave it to the board if you want them to come back either on the 20th or put it into August or even September, but, that's something you all can discuss. We do have this as a public hearing, so we should pick a date now. Maybe pick the 20th, just to kind of keep it moving.
Yeah, that'd be great. If we could make the 14th for the public scoping session, that'd be great. And then if we could see how it comes, how many comments we get. We think the scoping document is pretty elaborate, but if there's any comments on that date or before, we'd be happy to revise it if they're reasonable and part of the process, it's fine. And then, we can see if we back on the 20th, if that's possible, that'd be great too.
Yeah, we'll do it at the end. Okay. And then just one other thing, and I know Montebello does have a representative here. Joanne, the documents mentioned by Bonnie, I think except for the resolution, were forwarded to Montebello this afternoon, correct?
Well, we sent the scoping, the draft of the scoping, the draft of the
positive deck.
Correct. And everything else is going to be on the website as of tomorrow.
Right,
if everything goes
and there's certainly
as
now
planned.
we're scoping session, but I know this, obviously, the board had received correspondence from,
I'll send that tomorrow.
the board had received correspondence from Montebello, and so I just want to make it clear that they're certainly,
And we can send out all the notices that we need to make it easier on Nelson Pope and provide an affidavit showing that everything was done.
right, that's fine. I'm just saying in terms of making sure, they had to express some concern, so I want to make sure that they were obviously
Oh, absolutely.
kept apprised of what was going on.
Sure, absolutely.
It was-
And I did speak to their attorney on Friday and went back and forth with some emails too. We spent about 20 minutes on the phone on Friday, so the lines of communications are open with Montebello, and if they want to meet, that's great. We'd be happy to meet with them at any time, and/or their planners or attorneys, whatever.
And you think you'll be able to answer any questions in a week from the 14th to the 20th?
I think so. Let's see.
Okay,
let's see
because
what comes
I don't
up.
want to hold it up either, but I want to make sure you have time to address whatever comes in.
Yeah, my thought is let's see what comes in, and if there's any major issues, we'll address it, whether they're minor or major, but, it's pretty elaborate. I think we did a pretty elaborate job with Bonnie and her team, so.
Yeah, I spent my whole day reading it.
It's pretty detailed. All right, so this is a continuation of the public hearing. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak?
I'm not a member of the public. I would only add that the applicant has offered to also publish it in the environmental notice bulletin, which is one of the involved interested agency lists, but just to clarify. Thank you.
Okay.
And again, as Bonnie mentioned, just to provide, proof for the record that it's been done and published. That would be great. Want to take a motion to have the public scoping session July 14th.
Okay. Do I have a motion to set the public scoping session for July 14, 2020 at 7 PM?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Stanbridge. Do I have a second?
Wait, I'm sorry. Before we do that, I have a proposed resolution.
All right, we'll do the
Somebody
resolution.
do it, because I was going to do it.
Well,
We're gonna hold off on that, I'm sorry. I skipped my resolution, wasn't out there, yeah. So I did prepare a resolution that I circulated to the board. I'll skim through it. I won't read the entire thing, but the board has it. And I would ask if appropriate, somebody adopt the motion when we're done, but it would say basically, whereas the planning board of the Village of Suffern received a site plan application February 17, 2022 from IV2 Rockland Logistics Center LLC for a property identified at 25 Old Mill Road, Suffern, New York, to construct for a site plan application to construct 3 warehouse buildings, Building 1 approximately 963,000 square feet, Building 2 approximately 170,500 square feet, Building 3 approximately 88,200 square feet. Whereas by resolution adopted March 23, 2022, the planning board determined that the proposed action is subject to SECRA review, preliminarily classified the action as a type 1, and declared its intention to serve as lead agency. Whereas none of the other involved agencies or the petitioner as sponsor requested New York State DEC to designate a lead agency, and by resolution dated, adopted May 18th, 2022, the planning board declared that it had been established as lead agency for the purpose of reviewing environmental impacts of the proposed action under SECRA, whereas the planning board has reviewed the full EAF and proposed action on behalf of the planning board by its planner, Bonnie Franson, planning consultant for the Village of Suffern, and whereas the board has concluded the proposed action may have a significant impact on the environment if approved and built, the planning board has reviewed the attached draft positive declaration prepared on the proposed action. Now therefore be resolved, the planning board adopts the contents of the full EAF, parts 2 and 3, and further resolved, the chairman of the planning board is authorized to complete the signed determination of significance on the full EAF, declaring that set forth the proposed action, quote, may result in one or more large impacts that may have a significant impact on the environment. Therefore, a positive declaration will be prepared. And that further resolved, the planning board adopts the contents and conclusions set forth in the attached draft positive declaration. The chairman of the planning board is authorized to file the positive declaration as adopted with the agencies named in the positive declaration. Further resolved, the scoping will be conducted in accordance with NYS Department of Environmental Conservation Rule 617.8, based on drafting scoping document. Be it further resolved that the noticed and advertised scoping session will be held by the planning board on the 14th day of July at 7 p.m. to consider the draft scoping document. The clerk of the planning board shall distribute the draft scoping document in consultation with the applicant and coordination with the applicant to provide notification. The chairman of the planning board and other appropriate village officials are authorized to take other and further action as might be necessary to meet the planning board's obligations as lead agency. So I would ask if the board is inclined to adopt that resolution, does somebody move that?
I'll move it.
Do we have a second?
I'll give a second.
All right, second with Andrew Dale. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. All right, and now we want...
Just to adjourn the public hearing on
Are
the...
you taking a vote on this, though? Ayes and nays?
It's all, any opposed? Nobody opposed, so you can put them all down. And then just continue this hearing to the 20th, I guess. Motion to continue.
Okay, so a motion to continue the public session to July 20th, 2022?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Paul Stanbridge. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Pause it.
Second, Hudson Van Sickle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
And again, just for clarification, that's the public scoping session will be July 14th
Public hearing?
at 7 p.m. And this hearing is continued to July 20th at 7 p.m.
Then we need a motion for that. Yes.
So, just before you circulate, put on the web, we just have to add the date July 14th into the pause deck and into the scoping document before you circulate. So,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you.
We'll work with Cioffi tomorrow and get that finalized and out.
Wonderful, thank you. Now we need a motion on the scoping session, which we
No, we did that. That was part of that.
Yeah, I think the resolution covered.
I covered it, yeah.
Okay, so...
Or if we can just get it reread again.
Andrew's always...
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you on the 14th.
Absolutely. That's a tough one. Does anybody have any old business? No old business? We have. And I know we do have a representative from Montebello. Did you get the documents this afternoon?
I did not. I hadn't talked to Regina, your planning clerk, until I think I talked to her around noon.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have them at the time, and I didn't send them till later this afternoon, so they are with her now, what I sent, but I will add the other things, and it will be, as soon as Bonnie fills in the dates or whatever, we'll get them on the web, so they'll be there too.
That's just fine, great.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so there's no old business. Anybody have any new business? And we have the meeting on July 20th has already been set.
Yeah, just motion to adjourn.
So I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Jim Giannettino, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Hudson Van Sickle. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No, the motion carries. We'll see you on July 14th.